Krishna Sandeshavahaka Prabhupada Chaitanya Mahaprabhu Ajnati Prabhupada Gauriya Parampara Shiromani Prabhupada Shuddha Bhaktima Pratipadaka Prabhupada Mishra Bhakti Khandana Dikshita Prabhupada Mayavada Tamonasaka Prabhupada Siddhanta Surya Prakashaka Prabhupada Nirneta Prabhupada Bhakti Vedanta Abhidhana Prabhupada Srimad Bhagavata Amrita Vokta Prabhupada Jivatma Swarupa Prakashaka Prabhupada Yukta Vairagya Subhadarshaka Prabhupada Grihastha Brahmachari Samanvaya Prabhupada Shastrachara Samanvita Jivana Prabhupada Krishna Bhakti Sajiva Saksha Prabhupada Patita Jana Karunya Sindhu Prabhupada Sarana Saranagata Rakshaka Prabhupada Paschatya Desha Hridaya Vijeta Prabhupada Mlecchaya Vanulaku Harinamadayaka Prabhupada Gramdharaja Nirantara Sevaka Prabhupada Siddhanta Pratishtaka Prabhupada Guru Tattva Mahima Sthapaka Prabhupada Shishya Hridaya Deva Pratibimba Prabhupada Nishkapata Seva Dikshita Prabhupada Acharya Lakshana Sampurna Prabhupada Mano Nigraha Vijnana Bodhaka Prabhupada Indrijaya Sadhana Darshaka Prabhupada Saranagati Shandita Bodhaka Prabhupada Krishnanukula Sankalpa Swarupa Prabhupada Lokabhirama Krishna Sevaka Prabhupada Vrindavana Bhava Vahaka Prabhupada Namaruchini Jeevitam Chesina Prabhupada Smaraname Shwasaga Chesina Prabhupada Kalanni Jainchina Prabhupada Hare Krishna Nama Avatara Sevaka Prabhupada Nitya Smaraniya Prabhupada
Haribol. Haribol.
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
You know, you have to call me like the day before or the same day ahead of time, you know, because I have too many other things happening and I don't have the secretary, unfortunately. So, you know, because I'm getting all kinds of invitations like on the spur of the moment. And, all right.
Sorry, Maharaj.
It happens too many times because somehow I had another date fixed. So what's the verse? Haribol?
Yeah, sorry. Hare Krishna Maharaj. Okay, I will put the verse on the screen.
And just go over it really quick. Pumsan gatim mrigayatam iha yoga margaya janaspadam ahomatam pumsam vapur daishinam ananyasiddhaya utpartika
Maharaj, you got muted. Good.
What's up to the translation? Translation. The form of the Lord, which is meditated upon by the followers of the yoga process and is pleasing to the yogis in meditation, is not imaginary but factual, as proved by great yogis. The Lord is full in 8 kinds of achievements, but for others, these achievements are not possible in full perfection. Purport. The success of the yoga process is very nicely described here. And specifically mentioned that the form of the Lord as 400 Narayan is the object of meditation for the followers of Yoga Marg. Narayan is the object of meditation. In the modern age, there are so many so-called yogis who do not target their meditation on the four-handed Narayan form. Some of them try to meditate on something impersonal or void, but that is not approved by the great yogis. Follow the standard method. The real Yoga Marg process is to control the senses, sit in a solitary and sanctified place, and meditate on the four-handed form of Narayan, decorated as described in this chapter as he appeared before the 4 sages. Thus, Narayan form is Krishna's expansion. Therefore, the Krishna conscious movement, which is now spreading the real topmost yoga practice. Krishna consciousness is the highest yoga performance by trained devotional yogis. Despite all the allurements of the yoga practice, the 8 kinds of yogic perfections are hardly achievable by the common man. But here it is described that the Lord, who appeared before the 4 sages, is himself full of all 8 of these perfections. The highest yoga marg process is to concentrate the mind 24 hours a day on Krishna. That is called Krishna consciousness. The yoga system, as described in Srimad Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita, or as recommended in the Patanjali yoga process, is different from the nowadays practiced Hatha yoga, as it is generally understood in the Western countries. Real yoga practice is to control the senses, and after such control is established, to concentrate the mind on the Narayan form of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna. Lord Krishna is the original personality of Godhead, and all the other Vishnu forms with 4 hands decorated with conch shell to practice concentration on the mind, one has to sit with the head and the back in a straight line, and one must practice in a secluded place, sanctified by the sacred atmosphere. The yogi should observe the rules and regulations of brahmacharya to strictly live a life of self-restraint and celibacy. One cannot practice yoga in a congested city, living a life of extravagance, including unrestricted sex and drugs and idolatry of the tongue. Yoga practice necessitates controlling the senses, and the beginning of sense control is to control the tongue. One who cannot control the tongue can also have control over the other its senses. One cannot allow the tongue to take all kinds of forbidden food and drink, and at the same time advance the practice of yoga. Come to the Western countries and exploit people's inclination towards yoga practice. Such unarised yogis even dare to say publicly that one can indulge in the habit of drinking and at the same time practice meditation. 5,000 years ago, Lord Krishna recommended yoga practice to Arjuna. And Arjuna frankly expressed his inability to follow the stringent rules and regulations of the yoga system. One should be very practical in every field of activity. One should not waste his valuable time in practicing useless gymnastic feats in the name of yoga. Real yoga is to search out the four-handed supersoul within one's heart and see him perpetually in meditation. Such continued meditation is called samadhi, and the object of this meditation is the four-headed Narayan with bodily decorations as described in this chapter of Srimad Bhagavatam. If, however, one wants to meditate upon something void or impersonal, it will take a very long time before he achieves success in yoga practice. We cannot concentrate mind on something void or impersonal. Real yoga is to fix the mind on the point of the Lord, the four-headed Narayan, who is sitting in everyone's heart. Okay. Ma Om Vishnu Padaya, Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale. Imate Bhakti Vedanta, Swamini Namani. Namaste Saraswati Deva, Gauravani Pracharane. Nirvisesha Sunyavadi Paschachadesa Tarani. Vanchakalpa Truvischa. For devotees of Krishna, it's Krishna in the heart, the form of Krishna, two-handed form, or the form of Lord Chaitanya. So, Prabhupada, yoga means, Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, after describing the different kinds of meditation in chapter 6, the best yogi is the one that's always thinking of him. So the bhakti yoga practice is, if we just follow the basic practices of chanting every day and Mangal Artik and Bhagavatam class and do some kind of service, then we may not be 24 hours a day, but in Kali Yuga, every day is accepted as all the time. If we do it regularly, Krishna takes it, as you're doing all the time. So devotees are just trying to remember Krishna. That's our process of kirtan, preaching, distributing books, making temples, whatever we're doing. It's just so we can remember Krishna. We're always remembering something because we thought about that thing a lot. So we remember it. We might remember some good thing, something good that happened to us. We might remember somebody we don't like and think of them all the time. It's not that we can't remember things, but we have to transfer to Krishna. So by regularly hearing about Krishna, we have many examples in the Bhagavatam. We've been reading in Mayapur about Kardama Muni. So he was a great yogi in the Satya Yuga and always meditating on Vishnu. I mean, literally meditating, living very austerely, and just meditating on Vishnu. And somehow he got the idea to get married It's the will of the Lord, because the Lord wanted to appear. And when he appears, he needs a proper father and mother. So he answered the desire of Kardama Muni, and Manu, the emperor of the universe, came with his daughter, Devahuti. And she had heard about Kardama Muni. And even though she was the most beautiful princess in the universe and the most richest and the most luxurious, somehow she wanted to marry him. She heard about this austere yogi. And so, because she had a strong desire, for spiritual advancement. So Manu brought her and they arranged to be married. And information was given. Vishnu came and he said, I will appear also as your son. And Kardama Muni said, as soon as there's a son, then I'm going to leave home, give up the family life. So they, for many thousands of years or whatever, they didn't really have like family life. She served him and lived the same austere life he did and meditated the same. And so these yogis like that, they get thin, and so this most beautiful princess, she was so beautiful that she was playing some sport like tennis or something on the roof of her palace, and one demigod was flying over in his airplane, and when he saw her, he just fell unconscious, fell out of his airplane. Just, and she was so beautiful. So Kardama Muni was not attracted in that way at all. He just somehow inspired by Vishnu in his heart, that he should be married because Vishnu wanted to appear. So after many, many long time, he wasn't seeking any mystic powers. He was just meditating on Vishnu. And that's the only way you can get real mystic power. Nowadays, everybody wants mystic power. So these movies with, magical power people and mystic powered Avengers and X-Men and all these things they're very popular. People want that superpowers. But these real mystic powers are way beyond that. We hear a lot about this manifesting nowadays. So Kardama Muni, then he realized, the wife is living so austerely and, she's really meant to have children. They were Prajapatis. So he, by it just manifested, he was thinking like that. And there was a lake and maid servants, and she went in under the water and came out all beautiful and young again and decorated very beautifully and dressed very beautifully. And then his ashram was very sattvic, so he needed to get enlivened, in the mode of passion for creating children. And this airplane manifested. It wasn't an airplane, it was like a mansion, a few stories high with lakes and ponds and servants and no.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, please, your microphone got muted. If you may try to mute.
Okay, I'm sorry. I'm on my phone. If I just wiggle it, it moves. So anyway, he got a pure devotee. Prabhupada said they have all the mystic powers, but they're not interested in using it. they just want to use all their energy for serving Krishna. So hopefully that's what our goal is. And Krishna will give us, what we can handle. For most of us, he's not going to give us a lot of wealth and opulence because probably we'd get bewildered by it. And forget Krishna. Like Sudama Vipra, when he was on the way to visit Krishna by the order of his wife, he was thinking Krishna is very kind and he's kept me very poor because if I got rich, I'd get puffed up and I'd forget him. Now, when he did get rich by the mercy of Rukmini, goddess of fortune, when she saw how much Krishna loved him, and she just created all this opulence. But he never forgot Krishna. He lived in opulence and still just worshiped Krishna all the time. So the yoga there's 8 steps. So what people now call hatha yoga, mainly they don't even say hatha yoga, they just say yoga. It just means asana. Asana is the 3rd step. It's yama niyama. And most people forget the yama niyama, and even devotees, if we don't keep the yama niyama in mind, we're not going to make it. Things to do, to worship the Supreme Lord, and celibacy, and nonviolence, no thieving, something almost like the 10 Commandments, very similar comparison can be made. So we have to fix on that. We have the 4 regulative principles. We have our puja, we have our deity worship, we have our studying scripture. That's another one of the things we have to do in order to have a foundation so that one can practice pranayama and controlling the breath. Chanting the holy name is pranayama. We're breathing in and then chanting the holy name, breathing out. And that's a high level of pranayama, actually, not just the beginning level, is just to observe the breath going in and out and realize how that's what's maintaining these bodies. And then there's concentration of the mind. Yogis will look at a candle or look at the tip of their nose or something. And then finally, then can come meditation. And meditation isn't like so many people will tell us, well, in America anyway, yeah, I meditate. You say, what do you meditate on? Oh, I think about my job. I think about, my girlfriend. If you define meditation like that, or they try to think of nothing, which is not possible. But real meditation means to think of Krishna in the heart. So that's why we're chanting, and we have to think that Krishna's in the heart, and he's hearing me chanting, he's checking me out. And when we try to preach, we need to think of Krishna as in everyone's heart. And we're actually talking to Krishna. We're trying to show Krishna that we're thinking of him and we're trying to serve him. Then we can, actually make spiritual advancement. So this is a real yoga. Then it finally gets to samadhi. That means full absorption, 24 hours, and thinking of Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama. In reading Srimad Bhagavatam, the Srimad Bhagavatam, Idam Bhagavatam Nama, Purana Brahma Samhitam, Uttama Shloka Charitam, Shakara Bhagavan Rishi. It's an incarnation of Krishna. The Bhagavatam is the book incarnation, and it's written by Vyasadeva, who's also incarnation of Krishna. and it's all auspicious and all good and perfect for everyone. So that's why Prabhupada, dedicated inconceivable energy to write his books, practically not sleeping. And not only writing them, if he only did that, it would be spectacular, but he had to create a whole society of people and temples and centers in order to get the books published. And then to get them distributed all over the world and translated into so many languages. It's, when we think about how much we can do in one day, Prabhupada did every day more than all of us put together can do in a whole lifetime. But still, the movement is growing very rapidly, some places much more than others. Just like some places, say in Africa, the land is very fertile, so you can grow things very easily. Other places, the land is frozen or dried up, or doesn't rain or alkaline. It's very hard to grow things. Some places people are very receptive and take to Krishna consciousness and want to buy all the books and want to help you in many ways. Other places, people hardly notice no matter what we do. But Krishna just appreciates our efforts, and we're trying to spread this movement. We're trying to imbibe the Srimad Bhagavatam. So, by reading it, we can remember it. I heard Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj say he would give the statistic. I don't remember the exact percentages, but, if you just hear something, you remember some percentage, or if you just read it. But if you teach it, then you learn, you get the best retention. So that's why Prabhupada asked us to preach. It's for our own benefit. If we try to read something and we try to, just one Mataji was telling me, she was asked to give a class for the first time for, a big group in Nityananda's appearance date. So she was studying for a few hours. And then she said, she learned that that's the best way to study, is to think of how can I preach this, trying to understand it so that you can present it in such a way that other people can understand it. So this is our thing. So we're very fortunate. You were, and the movement was very fortunate to have Bhakti Tirtha Swami. I go to his samadhi and I'm always surprised. Well, I shouldn't be surprised, but um, when I see the dates, it's been 20 years since he left, and I can't think, how can it be that long, 20 years sounds like such a long time. It's 1/4 of my life. But it seems like he was here like yesterday practically sometimes. His influence is there, of course, and all that's going on in many parts of the world. His books are still influencing many people and making devotees, helping devotees to, get over their traumatic life or whatever problems they had in their life. So Prabhupada, now that's coming up for the 50th anniversary of Prabhupada's leaving, and the movement somehow is still going on. Now is the 60th anniversary of ISKCON, is this year, I think. And I was hearing this morning, that's quite significant because generally there's many religious movements come and go. Most of them don't make it past 50 years, especially after the founder leaves. But somehow ISKCON, Prabhupada set up a structure, gave us all the books, and stayed with us, you know, to show us how to do things, and left, you know, his books, his classes, his, you know, he allowed himself to be videoed, or, you know, not enough, but in those days, video wasn't so easy to do, but, and somehow we're still going 60 years and growing. And we have to be careful to, like in the early days, we were very small. We had few members. We weren't known. People gave us a hard time. Almost everywhere in the world, even India, you know, in Africa, the Christians attacked us. In India, the Brahmanas, and then, you know, they criticized Prabhupada for all the things he did in America that they didn't think were traditional, strict. Bhaktisiddhanta was criticized very much. People wanted to, the Brahmins tried to kill him in many different ways. When he did his first Vrindavan Parikama, or Navadvip Parikama, the Brahmanas came out and they were throwing stones and bricks at the elephant that was carrying the deities. But it just made the people against the Brahmanas and made them more favorable to Bhaktisiddhanta. They backfired, you know. But and when they went on the Vrindavan Parikama, all the shopkeepers wouldn't let the devotees come. They closed their shops and they couldn't buy boga and they couldn't, you know, get the things they needed. But they did the Parikama anyway, thousands of devotees. And I don't know how they did it, because now, you know, there's cars running back and forth and tractors and trucks bringing the prasadam and, you know, cleaning up. And he didn't have any of that. The Indian people, they could all take care of themselves and just get into little groups and cook and carry their own stuff on their head and walk. But somehow he did it with thousands of devotees. And Prabhupada, Bhaktisiddhanta, Bhakti Vinod wanted this Navadvip Parikama. He said it can save the universe. So that's going on. And every year that I was on the first one, it was something like 80 devotees, which included the Padayatra team. Now there's about 10,000, 6 parties, you know, 2 Bengali parties is about 5,000, and then there's Hindu party and the foreign international party and South Indian party, different language again. So everything is growing, and we're growing everywhere. It's not, you know, maybe it doesn't look exactly the same, because we have a whole different, I don't know how you say, diaspora or whatever. We've got you know, old people, we got young people, we got babies, we got sick people, we got all different languages and different cultures all coming together. So it's a completely different, you know, than it was in the beginning, when everybody was basically the same age, same language, same background, you know, and in different countries. And we had nothing else to do because there was no money or facilities except to go out and do Harinam. And when we got books, to distribute them. Now we have so many other things to take care of, and growth, and, you know, old people that need special care. So it's another world, and we have all kinds of people coming in. And innovating. Bhakti Tirtha was himself very innovative, and he was criticized so much by his godbrothers for his style and, you know, things they thought he was doing that weren't Vedic and stuff. Now they're realizing how great he was and glorifying him, and others are following up, on his programs of his Institute for Applied Spiritual Scientists techniques. I heard one lecture, he said he's going to teach spiritual techniques or something like that. But then he just talked about the 10 offenses and chanting the holy name. And that was in a public talk. But he presented it in a very scientific way so people could appreciate. So if anybody wants to comment or questions are very welcome. We just had Nityananda's appearance day. I went to Ekachakra, the birthplace of Lord Nityananda. They served 40,000 full pots of prasadam, 2 sabjis, rice, dal, and some kind of sweet. 40,000 people were just flooding in and out of there all day. It was really amazing. And somehow or other, nobody got in fights. Nobody got angry at anybody. Everything went, very smoothly. People patiently waited in line for prasadam, waited in line to go inside the temple, and couldn't stay very long. But there was kirtan all day for 3 days. I don't know how many hours a day. Many different, kirtan groups. So these are the things that happen as time goes on. As we keep preaching, more and more things like this happen everywhere. Sometimes, it's 40 people or 50 or 10 or 20, but it's the same activity. Some places it's more than 100,000 in different climates and different, types of people. But whatever, if we're chanting, it's always auspicious and it's beneficial for the whole universe. And if we're trying to spread the chanting, trying to give people Krishna, there's many different ways to give people Krishna. Bhakti Tirtha had a Nishinga martial arts place. People would come for martial arts, and they would preach to them. He had many things like that going on. It was very, very effective. Many people were joining. All right, so let's see if there's any favorable comments or sincere questions. It's late at night for me, and I haven't been well, so I'm really tired. So excuse me for maybe being a little incoherent.
Hare Krishna, dear devotees. Thank you so much, Maharaj. Of course, as always, we are very particularly grateful that somehow you always find time to be with us.
Well, yeah.
And I'll first of all apologize because I sent you the invitation to speak, as we always
Yeah,
do.
I don't always see the text messages, I don't watch it 24 hours a day.
Yeah.
But if you actually ring me quick, then
Okay.
I'll keep it.
So we'll try to do that next time. But in any case, we thank you so much for being here today. And of course, as always, dear devotees, if anyone may have questions, comments, reflections, you may want to raise your hand, your physical hand or the hand emoji. Please also bear in mind, Maharaj had so many other things doing, and he sacrificed to be here. He is in India, so his time is quite late. So if we can be very brief in our questioning whatever contribution we may have, that will be very much appreciated. Thank you all. Hare Krishna. Well, Maharaj, I have one first question. In the purport, Srila Prabhupada was talking about yogis who are very fortunate that they meditate and they are able to see the form of the Supreme Lord in the form of Narayan, which has 4 hands. And that is their perfection of the yoga practice. Meanwhile, Srila Prabhupada also taught us, just as Arjuna asked Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita, which of these various forms of yours, of Krishna's, should I meditate on? And Krishna specifically told Arjuna, meditate on this 2-handed form. So what is the difference between meditating on the 2-handed form of the Lord and then meditating on the 4-handed form of the Lord? If you may help. Hare Krishna.
Well, 4-handed form is an expansion of Krishna, but in different moods. So the normal yogi, they're meditating, they don't know Krishna, they know um, Vishnu. So we can say, in one sense, it's higher to meditate on the 2-arm form. That's the original. But Prabhupada said it's when, like Bhishma, he knew Krishna, he knew the 2-arm form, he knew the Vrindavan pastimes, but he chose to think of Krishna on the battlefield in 4-arm form, because on the battlefield, Krishna was sometimes in 4-arm form, sometimes 2-arm form. And devotee asked Prabhupada, is that higher or lower? And he said, no, different.
Well, thank you so much, Maharaj. I do not know whether it is, like, for lack of better word, whether it is brainwashing or whatever, but it is quite difficult for me to have attraction to the Narayan form as much as I do have a little bit of attraction to Krishna in the 2-handed form. I've also heard that.
That's our movement. We're worshiping Krishna, 2-arm form. All the deities Prabhupada installed, it's all the 2-arm form.
Yeah. Okay.
Krishna, we're chanting Krishna, not Vishnu, not Narayan.
Mm.
Sri Sampradaya, they chant Narayan, Narayan, Narayan.
Well, Hare Krishna. Anyone else with something to ask or to share before we call it a day? Because Maharaj has to go.
Yeah, time flies when you start to talk about Krishna.
Yeah.
So I said that, and I was reading it the other day, that for a devotee of Krishna, it's Krishna in the heart, or for us it may be Lord Chaitanya, when you're seeing in the heart. He's the original supreme controller. But the yogi is usually thinking of Vishnu, the real yogi. But, Prabhupada mentioned a few things. I don't know if it lasted. A few years ago, something came up, beer yoga. People would drink beer and do asanas, wine yoga. They'd put the bottle of beer between their feet and then try to touch their toes and get the beer, and then they could drink it. People were saying, oh, this is great. Now I can drink and do yoga at the same time. So that's not yoga. And you see them, they do all these contortions and, amazing gymnastic kind of stuff. But that's not really the goal of yoga. The asanas is just supposed to get your body and mind working together in harmony so that you can sit peacefully and practice pranayama, step by step. But still, if people concentrate on their body like that and they get their breathing, at least some of them will come towards more in the mode of goodness and give up meat eating and intoxication and start looking for something higher. So devotees, many places they go a lot to kirtans and yoga centers, or Indra Maharaj goes to Rishikesh, when there's a big yoga festival there, and there's, so many thousands and thousands of young people, and, hundreds or so many come to the kirtan all day, and they love it, and they want it, they're really interested. Not all of them, of course, but, it's a good place to find the ones who are. But nobody's thinking of Vishnu or even Krishna. But if they chant Krishna, then, they're thinking of Krishna. Mostly they'll say, meditate on nothing, or think of the tip of, staring at the tip of your nose or a candle or something. And that's one stage of focusing the mind, but that's just something to help us not be distracted. But by chanting Hare Krishna, we get everything all at once. And it's Krishna. So we're interested in Krishna. All our deities are Krishna, and Gauranga, and Jagannath was also Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, Maharaj. Without further ado, dear devotees, we're going to humbly request you all to kindly unmute yourselves, and we all with one heart, one love, chant the Hare Krishna Mahamantra to express our deepest appreciation to our revered speaker for today, His Holiness KAVICANDRA SWAMI Maharaj, for sharing his love and wisdom with us as he always does. Today, please, you may all unmute. Jai. Hare
Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama,
Hare Rama,
Rama
Rama
Rama,
Rama,
Hare
Hare
Hare.
Hare.
Vanchakarpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhyascha Patitanam
Pavanebhyo
Vaishnava
Namo
Namaha.
Namaha.
His Holiness KAVICANDRA Swami Maharaj ki Jai.
Jai.
His co-founder Srila Prabhupada ki Jai.
Jai.
But glory is to assemble devotees.
Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Thank you all for coming.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.